And a strategic networking partner for us that has sort of led the way in terms of this innovation with us is Arista. And here to talk about what we have done is a great pleasure to introduce Guenther. Guenther on stage, please. Yeah. Come on up, Guenther. Thanks a lot. So, are you still awake? By the way, yeah, he doesn't know how to answer that one. So Guenther has the rare pleasure of being a, Vienna native, right?
Nearly.
How far away do you live?
Well, I live two tube stations away, but I'm originally from Munich. I'm 16 years here, and I'm not Bayern Munich. I'm 1860, the other team.
Got it.
So.
Got it. Never heard of it, but that's okay, man. We'll take
matter.
your word for it. So tell us a little bit about Arista. I know you guys are growing leaps and bounds, as well as the Nutanix relationship and how you're working together.
Yeah, so let's start with the Nutanix relationship, because that's a long-standing one. So, and it's not only taken, or starting at the CEO level and ending at the CEO level. It's really one of the partnerships we have in the field as well. So we're working on the sales level, on the technical level, in the countries with Nutanix. And I think, for giving you kind of the background, what really makes a successful partnership is it starts from the core value of the companies. One is going to be the quality, which we believe in. And secondly is innovation of the products, which both companies share, so that's extremely important. And it's great, seeing although Nutanix brings innovation to market. That's wonderful. And if I basically combine these and looking at the two companies, what it is, it's really, for us creating an opportunity for enterprise customers for moving to the cloud simplified and smoothly. And that's really in achieving, cloud agility and all the cloud economics at any scale.
Got it. And so how do you see, obviously Arista is growing as an alternative to Cisco as well as a bunch of other vendors out there in terms of pioneering not just the switching business but also the routing business and so forth. So how do you see the data center architecture transformation that we're talking about at Nutanix sort of helping, even new networking architectures from Arista to actually penetrate in the current customer base as well as some of the future?
Yes. When you look at the overall architecture we have basically promoted so far, which is the spine leaf architecture, we are now in Arista talking about the universal spine, which kind of, is exactly taking a care about, the hyper-converged cloud and all these things. So it is developing into that route. It's the same basically when you look at the overall thing, what's going to be, it's going to be IP, it's going to be Ethernet over the long term. And it's also going to be, more and more Ethernet and the hyper-converged everywhere into the service provider scene. So we're moving exactly in that direction. And our job is really, the complication in that environment, keeping it simple. And we heard it a couple of times, keep it simple for you, even there's a lot of complexity and technology in the background. Great.
And I know we have a video lined up of the product integration. Should we play the video?
Introducing Acropolis Tracer, a new Arista extensible operating system extension that utilizes the rich set of RESTful APIs from Acropolis to integrate physical networking with Nutanix Enterprise Cloud Platform Virtual Infrastructure. Working with the Prism Management Framework, system administrators are able to create virtual machines, and Arista's Acropolis Tracer automatically provisions physical network and delivers Acropolis virtual machine location to network administrators. The complete solution automates network provisioning and network policies in real time based on application and IT lifecycle changes.
So essentially, this is a product from Arista that they're building into their Cloud Vision overall product that natively integrates into our network orchestration APIs to provide for automated VLAN creation, misconfiguration, visualization, and things like that, just so that you can provide a much more turnkey offering between Arista top-of-the-rack switching fabric as well as Nutanix's AHV fabric and so forth. But so thanks a lot, Guenther, for taking the time and the support.
Okay? Thanks, my pleasure. Thanks.
So we talked about the network orchestration services and the visualization services across a series of partners. So without any further ado, let me introduce Binny to come on stage as to actually make sure Hopefully, the demos actually work this time. All right, man.
Thank you, Sunil.
A round of applause for Binny. Maybe actually hold a round of applause until the demos work.
Yeah.
All right?
You prepare your jokes.
All right.
So let's see. Let's show the laptop here. All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope the demo guards work well with us. We are connecting this laptop over VPN.
Good news is the product will work.
Yeah, of course. Right? We're connecting over VPN over a busy internet to headquarters right now. So what we had shown earlier in Las Vegas was a one-click visualization of the network. I wanted to recap some of that. Basically, if you have a bunch of VMs on a rack connected to top of rack switch, through one-click network troubleshooting capabilities, what we had shown is you can see the flow of a packet from a VM through the vSwitch, through the physical NIC of the host, all the way to the top of rack. And then we showed what are the packets dropped so that you can troubleshoot your networking issues and also show VLAN misconfigurations, right? So that is, and we have done a whole bunch of improvements on that as well. Let me show you how it looks right now. So essentially, if you go to the networking tab, so here we see that on the left-hand side, there are the VLANs that we have configured.
So this is a completely net new interface, by the way, that's coming in version 5.0.
Exactly. And so for this demo, I'll be using a website that we created for our HR department. So let me just focus on the VMs that start with the name website. As you can see, I have 6 VMs, out of which 4 of them are called Apache. This is my web tier. And then there's one developer VM that I use for troubleshooting and preparing these VMs. And then there is one that is a MySQL database. So these are the 3 sets of VMs that we have. You can click on any VM, and it shows you the networking characteristics of the VM, detailed about which VNIC is doing what. These VMs, you can see through the wire diagram, right? It's connected to the host. So this shows you, this is net new, like we show you the networking diagram of the host. And here you can see there are 2 10 gig ports bonded together. You can click on bond. It shows you, hey, this is active backup. So one of them should be a backup, like this one is backup. It's not doing any traffic. This one is active. So it's doing traffic right now, and you can drill down more. Now this host is connected to 2 switches, as you can see. This top one is an Arista switch. Ethernet 6/1 is the port. So we tell you the exact port that this VM traffic is flowing through. Now you can go look at it. You can look at MTU, the speed, the received packets, the transmitted packets, and if there are any dropped packets or error packets. So this gives you visibility into the network. And you can click on now the switch itself, and it shows you what is the vendor, what are the VLAN IDs right here. One click away, you can know what the VLAN IDs are, what's the version of Arista running, and so on.
Got it.
Right? So this is simple one-click visibility into the networking stack, and it helps you troubleshoot. Now, what's also important is orchestration, and that, as we speak, we're working on Acropolis Network Orchestration Service. One of the functionalities it provides, among many things, is one-click network provisioning. So essentially, now you can have the ability of auto-programming your VLANs on the top of rack switch. You don't have to troubleshoot misconfigurations anymore. It's done, and then it reduces the time for application delivery. So you don't have to file tickets and have somebody do it for you. So let me show you what it means. So this is connected to Arista. Here I have a tab. Let me log in. And logging into the Arista switch, right? And let me show you, which switch it is. So this is an Arista switch running there, and let me show you the VLANs. So here are the VLANs on the top of rack switch. If you notice, the biggest one is 2131. Now let me go to Prism and make sure it also says the same. 2131 is the biggest one, right? So now, supposing in my daily activity, I'm configuring VMs and creating VMs, I want to create a new network, right? So I can go to Network Config in Prism, and here you see there's a Create Network tab. So let me try to create a network, a VLAN. So it's a demo VLAN. Let me give it 2200 VLAN. That was not used, right? And I hit Save. So now essentially what's happening is using the Acropolis Notification API, we're able to notify Arista that a new VLAN is needed, and this can be done with Arista, Brocade, any of our partners, Plexi, and so on. So let's go to Arista now, and let's reissue the same command, show VLAN, and boom, that's the new VLAN is configured right there.
It worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah. So great work by the team. Now that was one of the features of the Acropolis Network Orchestration Service. Let's look at another one. Now we go from the top of rack switch one level deeper and think about, here I have a website running a web tier. It has to be load balanced. So there's a load balancer that's exposing a virtual IP, and it's balanced across my web VMs. So now what would be nice is you can auto-program the load balancer as your application is scaling and shrinking, and it will work with Citrix NetScaler, F5, etc., any ADC.
I mean, a pretty common use case across this is whenever I'm powering on new VMs or scaling out new VMs and bringing down VMs and auto-scaling stuff, my load balancing fabric is normally a manual operations to go and add members to the pool and create new pools and all that. Essentially, all of that goes away now with the new Acropolis APIs.
Yeah, and the benefit is that humans will configure things when they need it, but when they've stopped using it, they would probably forget to unconfigure and leaves clutter behind. So it's very important to automate some of these things. So let me go and look at. I have an F5, the virtual instance of F5 running here, right? So here I've configured a pool which is called tier web, right? So essentially it acts like the web tier of my HR website. I can click on tier web, and I want to see how it's configured. What are the members that it has, that it's load balancing behind it. So here you have a members tab. You can see that there are 4 addresses that it is load balancing. It's doing round robin among the 4 addresses. That's .22, 23, 24, and 27, right? So now let's go back to Prism and see what these are, right? So let me explore. And then here, let's go down. So here we have a website Apache 1234, and those are the IP addresses. So it's essentially load balancer is balancing around that. Now supposing my website gets busy, because of the news or whatever, right? So the HR website is really busy, and I want to expand the footprint. So let me click on one of those things, and I have a snapshot. That's a gold image through which I can clone and create more VMs to auto scale.
Our HR website is going to get, after the new president getting elected, there's going to be a lot more visas being filed, I think.
Yeah. So they are one of our primary customers for this now, right? So as you can see, I'm creating 4 clones, and I'll have to tell the system, hey, put it in tier web server, and then I hit save, right? So essentially now I've asked the system to create 4 more, Apache VMs, and they're right there. Now let me select all of them and then power them on, right? So now when I power them on, essentially through Acropolis notification APIs, we're able to tell our partner integrations that, hey, there's a new VM event, it's powering it on, you got to do what you got to do, right? So now let's look at F5, and then click on members again. And the expectation is that now the new VMs will show up here, and indeed you see that now there are four more VMs.
Definitely.
So now let me jump into the next one.
And so that would be the case with NetScaler or any other load balancers out there?
Yeah, pretty much. And our APIs are flexible enough, and you can make them work with any partner that you want. So here, this is a hint for the next one. So I'm trying to log in so that we don't spend time on the thing.
Good stuff.
Now let me jump into the third use case of the Acropolis network orchestration, which is now going further down. Right? We talked about top-of-rack switch, we talked about load balancer, talking to the web server. Now the web tier is talking to the DB tier, right? And now what I want to do is insert something in the middle, like an application firewall, so I can inspect if anything wrong is happening there, right? So that capability comes with Acropolis network orchestration now, which we're working on. You get bump in the wire insertion mode, or you could do tap mode, right? And then it's done in a non-disruptive manner, so it's not disruptive to the application, and it's also transparent to the user, so the admin can be doing it by themselves. So for that, let's go and see if Palo Alto, okay, it's logged in now, which is good. Let's go to the monitoring tab, and I want to show you the traffic, right? So right now, there is no traffic. So nothing is going through the Palo Alto VM. The idea for an admin is, hey, I want to transfer the traffic coming from the web tier to the DB tier through this, right? So usually it's a lot of a headache to configure these things. What we want to do is bring simplicity to networking, right? So let's go to the network security rules. Here, focus on the first rule.
And this is a new capability.
Yeah, this is net new here. So on the first rule, you see that the target group tier web. So it essentially says all VMs that belong to this tier web allow inbound from load balancer service, as we have seen, and they allow outbound to the tier database. So this is 3306 port for MySQL. Now, in this flow, I want to attach Palo Alto firewall. So I click on Add. This is a redirect column. And you see that there are many of choices that you can do, attach a service chain. Let's select Palo Alto firewall here and hit Save. So essentially, we have told the system, hey, put this. And if you click on Palo Alto firewall, it shows you exactly what it has done. So essentially, now the traffic goes from the web tier through the Palo Alto firewall into the DB tier, right? So let's go back to Palo Alto firewall, and you can see that now the traffic is flowing through Palo Alto firewall. It's that simple.
Got it. Good stuff.
So now let's summarize, right? So Acropolis Network Orchestration gave you one-click network provisioning. It gave you one-click load balancer configuration and one-click firewall insertion.
Got it. Are you guys ready to hit the bathroom, or do you want to see one more thing? One more thing.
Good.
Okay, so what have we done natively?
All right. Any discussion of networking is incomplete without discussing one more thing, which is security.
Got it.
So that's what we wanted to spend time and think about it deeper and more natively. Essentially, there's a need for micro-segmentation today, right? I have my development VM, and an attacker can attack it. I download a bunch of bytes, and some of it is software, some of which I don't know is software. And it can go and infect my VM and laterally spread in my data center and eventually reach a high-profile asset, and that could be where the company stores credit cards. What's important is to have native built-in micro-segmentation so that you can ring-fence all these assets from each other so that if one is infected, you don't go laterally.
I think the assumption is that it's almost impossible to prevent attacks to penetrate.
Yes.
It's more about how do you actually isolate and protect.
Correct.
Assuming some of those attacks actually happen.
Right. So first you have to isolate, and it has to be simple, and it has to be intuitive so that it is pervasively used, and can be used by anybody. And so that's our idea. Now, in our demo, what we have done is we have used our work on one-click microsegmentation that we're working on to create these ring fences across the web tier and the DB tier. And anytime you create these pools, you have to also now tell the system, hey, what are the legal flows, right? So that's where we have worked on application-centric policies that give you simple specification based on tags, and you can also quarantine and have timed allows and so on. So let me show you how we're doing that. So let's go to Prism, and here, now let's look at the full set of rules. First rule we saw, web tier talking to DB tier, right? And it's going through the Palo Alto firewall right now. Second rule says now any VM belonging to the DB tier allows traffic coming inbound from the web tier, and there's no outbound allowed, right? Now, to understand the third rule, let's go back, right? When this is running in production, what the admin wants to do is, hey, usually people shouldn't touch production unless there's a problem. And so when there's a problem, the admin wants to give me debug access to the production environment. So that's the third rule. So web debug, it says any VM in the web tier allows inbound from the development environment, right? So now let me see if that is working, right? So I go and look for a VM. So here's my VM. So let me uncheck these. So my VM is website developer VM, right? And it's in the development environment, and rest is in production. So where I want to go is look at the console. And in the console, I'll try to go ping the web server, right? That's the Apache web server. So I have it in the history here. So let me ping. So I am able to access that, right? That's what the admin has configured. So now let me go back and go to the network security rules again, and here's the web debug. Supposing I've done the debugging, right? And the admin says, okay, admin can go and delete this rule, but he says, maybe tomorrow I need that, so he'll probably disable the rule, right? So he disables the rule. So what should happen is that I should no more have access.
Got it. So it's now segmented it so that it's actually enforcing that policy to prevent development to hit your production environment.
So it's as easy as that. If the admin wants to now enable it back, he can just, in one click, go and enable this access again. So this is essentially microsegmentation.
Got it. Is it happening?
Let's see. Yeah, it's happening.
There you go. It happened, man. That's it.
That's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was some cool stuff there. I think I'm sure there's a bunch of these demos that are available, as well as, most of the engineering team is here. So please do spend the time to kind of get into the details of what we call as one-click networks, all the way from visualize to service orchestration to native microsegmentation that'll be coming out in the future. Okay. So to and we'll expand the partner portfolio associated with this. You look forward to more updates and more announcements shortly in the next few months. And to sort of bring this full circle then, right? So about Nutanix then embodying both the one-click experience of Amazon.com plus the cloud-like experience around WebScale, the primary thing that we would want, as I mentioned at the beginning of the conference, is the fact that we want to ensure that this can be delivered on your terms. Whether it be capabilities, features, support, design, pricing, packaging, delivery options, software versus hardware versus all software. So keep us honest. We are here for the long term. We expect all of you to be here for our 10th year anniversary, 10 years from now, hopefully in .NEXT Europe. So thanks a lot for taking the time, guys, and I'll see you around later tonight. Okay?